Today we're going to talk about transversals and angles formed by transversals. So a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So in this diagram, you can see line L is here, line M is underneath it, and then we have line T, which you can see by these 2 points intersects both line L and line M. So line T is our transversal. Sometimes you will see this written as the letter with a line drawn over the top of it with two arrows. This is the mathematical notation for line, so this says line T. So when a transversal cuts through two lines, it forms all of these angles that you can see here, and every single set of, or almost every single set of angles has a pair name. So the first one is corresponding angles. These are angles that are on the same side of the transversal and in the same position. So if we look at this, we've got two clusters of angles. We have this top one that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have this bottom one that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So in the top cluster, 1 is in the top left. And then in the bottom cluster, you can see 5 is also in the top left. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles because they are in the same position in each of their angle clusters. So if 1 and 5 are in the same position, you can see that 2 and 6 are also, so we have angle 2 and angle 6, also angle 3 and angle 7, and then angle 4 and angle 8. So corresponding angles, they're in the same position in each of their angle clusters, and they are connected by the same transversal. For alternate interior angles, interior means inside, so we're talking about these angles that are on the inside of our diagram. Non-adjacent means that they are not next to each other. They don't touch each other, so it's not like 3 and 4 where they are right next to each other. And then alternate meaning on opposite sides of the transversal. So here's my line. So if I pick angle 3 first, then the alternate interior angle to angle 3 is going to be angle 5 because they're on opposite sides and they're both inside. So angle 3 and angle 5 are alternate interior. 4 and 6 are also alternate interior angles. Okay, next we have alternate exterior angles. So very similar to the last one, except this time they're exterior, which means on the outside of the diagram. So if you look at this, you can see how angle 1 opens up to the outside and angle 2, and then 7 and 8. So those are going to be our exterior angles. And then alternate meaning on opposite sides of the transversal. So if I take angle 1 first, angle 1 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles. And then that leaves angle 2 and angle 8 also are alternate exterior angles. And then the last pair that we're going to look at today is consecutive interior angles. Consecutive means that they come right after each other. So if we're going to talk about consecutive numbers, 9 and 10 would be consecutive because 10 comes right after 9. Interior meaning inside. So when you see this consecutive, that's going to mean that they're on the same side of the transversal. So consecutive interior angles, we have angle 3 here, and then the other angle that would be with it would be angle 6. So each angle is from a different angle cluster, but they are on the same side of the transversal and they're both on the inside, which means that also 4 and 5 are consecutive interior angles. Okay, so I'm going to do some practice with this. We've got some we've got a diagram down here, we've got some angle pairs, and we want to name the type of angle relationship. And if there's no relationship, we're going to write none. So let's look at the first one. We have angle 1 and angle 8. So angle 1 is right here, and angle 8 is down here. So they are not in the same position of their angle cluster, so they can't be corresponding. They are on opposite sides of the transversal. You can see my transversal is R here, angle 1 is on top, and angle 8 is on bottom. But they are not interior angles because the inside would be between the two lines. These are on the outside of the two lines. So this makes these alternate exterior angles. Next up is 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are right here. They are both on top of the transversal, so they're on the same side of the transversal, and they are next to each other. So that makes these consecutive interior angles. Five and 7. 5 is down here, and 7 is here. They're on the same side of the transversal, but 5 is not on the inside, so they can't be consecutive interior angles. So the only other thing, the only other angle pair that can be on the same side of the transversal is corresponding angles. 5 is in the bottom left of this angle cluster, and 7 is in the bottom left of this angle cluster. So those are corresponding angles. They're in the same position. 2 and 7. 2 is up here on top of the transversal, 7 is down here below. They're both inside, so they are alternate interior. One and 3, we've got 1 up here and 3 up here. They're both in the top left of their angle cluster, so they are corresponding. Last, we have 6 and 7, both on the bottom of the transversal on the same side, both interior, so these are consecutive interior. Okay, let's look at the next one. Excuse my arm. Okay, for this one, we have 2 different transversals here. And it says here that it is important angles must belong to the same transversal to be an angle pair. So we can combine this angle cluster with the cluster to the right or the cluster to the bottom, but they cannot go diagonals. So let's take a look. 5 and 13, angle 5 is here and angle 13 is here. So I'm going to go ahead and cover up this other line just so that it's not confusing to us. So 5 and 13, they're on the same side of the transversal and in the same position in the top left. So these are corresponding. I'm going to start using the angle symbol to write out that word. Okay, next up is 7 and 14, happen to be on the same transversal, so I'm not going to move my finger. So 7 is here and 14 is there. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, and they both are on the inside. So these are alternate interior. Okay, next up is 3 and 6. I can see 3 here, and I can see 6 there, so I'm just going to cover these guys up. So 3 and 6 are on alternate sides of the transversal. So this transversal will be C here. So you can see 6 is above and 3 is below. So they are alternate. And then the interior angles for this would be 2, 5, 7, and 4, and it's not one of those. So those are exterior angles. So this is alternate exterior. Okay, next up is 9 and 16. So 9 is here and 16 is there, so I'm going to cover that up. You can barely see it. So 9 is on top of the transversal and 16 is on bottom. So these are alternate angles, opposite sides of the transversal, and they're both on the outside, so this is also alternate exterior. All right, next up is 4 and 7, so cover this guy up. They're on the same side of the transversal. They're both on the inside, so that makes this consecutive interior. All right, 2 and 10. They are on the same side of the transversal. They're both in the same position as the top right of their cluster. So this is corresponding. Next up, 8 and 14. So we'll cover this guy up now. 8 is here and 14 is here. They're on the same side of their transversal. They're both on the inside, so these are consecutive interior. All right, 6 and 11. 6 is up here, and 11 is all the way down there, and they're fully diagonal from each other. They do not share a transversal, so they have no angle pair. 4 and 13. So 4 is here on the inside and 13 is here on the inside, but they are also diagonal clusters. So they don't share a transversal. So they also have no angle pair in common. Last one is angle 4 and angle 9, so I'll cover that up. 4 is on the right side of my transversal, 9 is on the left, so those are alternate. They're both on the inside, so this last one is alternate interior.